Well, if it comes to partnership, marriage, finding a partner for life, a wife, a husband, what should each do? Well, let me only talk from the ideal. The ideal is that two people, man and wife, because they're going to have children, in some sense, the whole point of the union is that something wonderful is created, and the most wonderful thing on earth is life. And so, I'm going to assume it's male and female coming together, okay? Reasonable, isn't it? And what's the process? Well, first of all, the ideal is that they're both godly, in the sense that they both seek most earnestly to love God. And ideally they're at some similar spiritual state of growth, maturity. And I do mean maturity, I don't just mean the same level. In other words, they're going to need godly qualities if they're going to have a good relationship, a godly relationship, fulfilling and long-lasting and a blessing to all, not just each other, not just to the children, but to the whole family, grandparents and whatnot, and grandchildren, and to the neighbours, church, and to the world. If they're going to be a blessing, they need to be mature spiritually, by which I mean practiced and firm in their faith, their trust, their love of God. How do they meet? Well, they don't actually go out hunting. They ask God, if that's what they want, for the right partner. Now, some won't ask God for that. I was amazed when I was a young man to find a chap who, well, I had become Christian. I wasn't that young, I was in my 20s. And he didn't want a partner. He wanted just the relationship with God. Thought that was fairly amazing. So some people do take that path. But if, on the other hand, you're seeking a partner, well, ask God. Most earnestly, of course. And don't go dating everybody, of course, that's willing to be dated. That's not the way. In fact, don't actively seek at all. Simply know in your heart that God will find you the right partner. There's no gamesmanship, there's no plan of action, there's no process. You are ideal for someone who is ideally suited to you. And it's that person that you must have. And if you don't have them, then there will be a loss to you and to them. So you don't go out relating to all and sundry, or out of some charitable kindness, except you find a person who is just right. And I mean just right spiritually as a person for you. be reasonable, you're going to be living with, and you're going to have children with, and joys and sorrows together. So you're looking for someone that fits that bill. Your desire is to love them and care for them, to be a great blessing to them. You will express it in every facet of life, waking or sleeping, going to work or making love, looking after children, looking after relatives, caring for people, neighbours and so on, and church, or whatever your religious group is. That's going to be your joy, your happiness, your peace. So you're not going to rush this. When God presents the right person, He will also give you the right time. So it's not something you have to rush into or rush through. You just enjoy the whole journey. From the now not knowing, to the meeting and wondering, to the finding out and being sure, and the following through into a lifelong relationship. That's what you're purposed on. A loveliness, a goodness, a blessing to all. Absolute joy. Thank you, Heavenly Father. So you seek to become the ideal man or woman for your ideal partner. You consciously develop and acquire and develop, I should have said, I suppose, put it the right way around, those qualities that make you eligible, but not eligible in some gross worldly sense, in the reality rather of what makes a good partner for life, a dear friend. The other qualities you need to have, which are of course godly qualities, which are of course that which comes from a spiritual maturity, a very good relationship with God. Now, fundamental to our body and our needs are our ability to have children and to make love and so on. To find, therefore, our partner not just spiritually attractive, but physically attractive too. You need to be and to find satisfaction in your partner, and of course nobody else. because finding satisfaction for such in one's partner is glorious and godly way of binding the relationship. For there is a way of making love that basically just delights in bringing the other person all the pleasure in the world. And you will need a partner that fulfills that. And they will need a partner that fulfills that too. Of course, the busyness of life will start to eclipse, in considerable measure, these needs. But you're going to have to be careful that you adjust together. And this may well include, therefore, keeping the necessary standards of attractiveness and acceptability to each other, physically speaking. I won't say in character as well, because presumably mature in character, you'll remain such and in fact strengthen and move together. You will need to move together spiritually as well, of course. You need to go the same way as each other. There is no reason why each of your love of God should in any way hinder your love and care for each other. If it does, you should be very careful. For it would not be a happy situation for one of you to, in some sense, go to heaven and not the other. For one of you to be accelerating off into life eternal, and the other not really fully embracing such. Now, I've had 3 marriages and relationships earlier to that when secular person. In all cases, I was very earnest in wanting to love, to care for. But far too hasty, you would say, in being willing to sacrifice my own needs, so to speak, in favour of rescuing, being the ideal partner to people who were perhaps not the ideal partner for me. So I did love them flat out, and wonderful times. Although all 3 ended after considerable years, 18 and 7 years, in an unhappiness and breach, and the wife going and leaving me, and great unhappiness. Unhappiness to both parties, always. it's including the one that chooses to go. Wives in this case. And I have been struck by the fact that all three wives have not been terribly happy in the longer term either with however they've chosen to spend their life. I, on the other hand, had further good life after they'd left, once I recovered from the wretchedness of them leaving. But learning from my experience, I would say it is absolutely of paramount importance that you do not rush into a relationship, but very carefully give it time for God to show to you the viability of what you're considering. I don't mean I haven't been incredibly blessed by the three ladies I've known that I've married, well, and the previous girlfriends. But well, I can imagine I'd have been much happier with one lasting relationship, and that was my determination, because my own parents were divorced and separated it from each other too. It was their second marriage in both cases. And I determined that I didn't need the perfect wife. But in a sense, you do need the perfect partner. Has to be someone that is right for you and you for them. I assumed that the average girl, quite honestly, is right for the average person. That's true, but you're not the average. You're who you are, unique. And if you are to marry, then God has the right partner for you. And you should not go jumping the gun and acting in haste, so to speak. Your willingness to either be married or single will attract to you exactly the right person if marriage is right for you. And if it isn't, well, your relationship with God will be all the more than if you have a marriage or marriages that hinder such. You see, the ideal is you have a marriage that complements such. Now, simply through loving the wives I've had, I've found that has helped my relationship with God in general. And I mean quite spectacularly in many ways. I still feel, though, that one right partner would have done so much more. And I don't know that's true, of course, but I really think it would have done. Certainly I would have avoided the desperate times when they left, I was most unhappy. It took all my deliberate trusting in God to get me through. And I did get through, don't get me wrong. But I wouldn't wish it on anyone. So don't do what I do, what I did. Do what I tell you. Better to learn from my mistakes than yours. Less sorrow for you. And by the way, there will be sorrows in your life. It's part of, it's almost certain that there'll be sorrows. It's part of living. It's part of God's training for us. Adjusting for it, and the sorrows will be much less and much lighter. Well, I expect you know that already, don't you? And you will find all the godly qualities equip you perfectly for the partner you're supposed to have. And she will have those godly qualities too. That's the ideal. That's what you're going for. God bless you. God bless your time together. May you have a life of great fellowship with your partner, great love and shalom, joy, peace and goodness. Thank you, Heavenly Father.